All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this special program. I'm Steve Malzberg. You usually see me at 7 p.m. Eastern. You'll see me tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern as well. Security, by the way, we should mention to you, has been stepped up in and around the United States. In New York, where I'm sitting, for instance, at Penn Station, at the various airports. I know that the governor of New York has called out the National Guard to go to the airports and various points of transportation. So we're on high alert, and that's a good thing, but it's just so hard to prevent if someone wants to get it done. And when you have a president who's sitting in Cuba watching an exhibition baseball game with the Tampa Bay Rays and the Cuban national team instead of even addressing what's going on, let me tell you what he would address. He would address it if a cop killed a thug, and he would address it if it was a mosque that was attacked. Oh, he would address it. Let's get to the phones. 877-639-7629. Ken from Grays Harbor in Washington State. Hello, Ken. Welcome aboard.
Hey, Big Steve. How are you today?
Good. Thanks for calling, sir.
I've got two things. One, saw over the news that 7 out of 10 mosques in the United States, their preachers or whatever they are preaching about everyone going into a jihad. Why aren't these guys deported at once back to Iran? Number two, there was a tragic bombing 3 times. I believe that governments need to train dogs like they have for Mexican-American border to sniff out dynamite, etc., explosives at these terminals, and for prevention in the future.
Well, I'm not familiar enough with the Brussels security system. As Congressman Peter King said, they tend to be behind. They're kind of schizophrenic about terrorism, as he said. But as far as the radical imams in the mosques, I mean, I don't know that it's 7 out of 10. I will tell you it exists. I will tell you that some of the groups, in my opinion, from what I've seen, the groups in charge of picking the imams, let's say, for prisons, for instance, I think need to be questioned and scrutinized. They're given free rein. A lot of people, a lot of jihadists are radicalized in prison. And yes, a lot of these mosques There are plots plotted and hatched at some mosques, as we've seen in the past. The blind sheik, who Andy McCarthy helped put behind bars. So I'm for infiltrating the mosques with the FBI. And if it were Jews who were blowing people up all over the place, I'd be for infiltrating my synagogue with an FBI agent, unbeknownst to me, because I have nothing to hide. And I would want to know if there were criminals in my midst. So I think I would act the same if it were my people under scrutiny, and I think any good Muslim should feel the same way I do, but doesn't seem to be that way. Thank you, Ken. Rick is in Leavenworth in Washington State. Hello, Rick.
How are you?
Good. How are you, sir?
Good.
What can I do for you?
Well, I think, you were talking about our president, not being around to do anything but I think more than likely if he was, he would just tell us not to, to go after to have any bad things to say about the Muslims or anything. I think if, this was something to do with gun control or something like that, he'd be all over it.
That's a great point. But 2 great points. Ted Cruz, in our opening segment with Miranda Khan, made that point that we don't need the president to give us a lecture on Islamophobia. But you're absolutely right. If this had been guns, if this had, God forbid, been in our country, or even if it had been guns in Brussels, we would have heard the gun spiel. You're absolutely right. Rick, I appreciate you weighing in. Everyone, we're going to take more of your phone calls at 7 p.m. So tune into my show at 7 p.m. Eastern right here on Newsmax TV, the Steve Malzberg Show. That's me if you're not familiar with it. When we come back, we're going to try to get inside the apparatus here with another expert on terror. The director of Jihad Watch, the one and only Robert Spencer, will join us. Don't go away.